Hello, I'm Kate Charlesworth. I've been a working cartoonist and illustrator since the 1970s, and I'm really thrilled and honoured to have been longlisted for the Polari First Book Prize for my LGBTQ+ history and personal memoir, Sensible Footwear, a Girl's Guide, which was published last year by Myriad editions. It was a long time in the making, and I actually had the idea really decades ago because whilst I was working on my day job, which included clients such as New Scientist, Good Housekeeping, Chartered Quantity Surveyors Weekly, I was also working on Sappho magazine, Gay News and the Pink Paper. And I didn't realise at the time, but cartoonists like myself, David Shenton and Kath Jackson, working in the gay press, were accidentally documenting LGBTQ+ history as it was actually happening. As time passed, I worried that young queer folk wouldn't know their own history or even be able to access it. So I thought, well, the answer to that is to want one massive book with absolutely everybody's stories in, visible lesbians especially, because it would all be in pictures. This was a fantastic idea, but I soon realised impractical because it would be too heavy to lift. So to narrow the focus, I decided to start in 1950 and stop just before publication was due, whenever that was, and to weave it all together with a thread of memoir. And then the memoir grew to be something more than just my narrative, and the history became a kind of embarkation point for hundreds of stories that already had been described elsewhere, and so many more that were still waiting for their telling. By 2015 I'd written a script, and from that I made 3 timelines: LGBTQ+, my story, and everything else, the zeitgeist, and I put these as post-it notes on the back of my studio door. And then I worked out a storyboard, designed the spreads, stuck a plan of the lot on the wall, all 320 pages, and penciled, drew and digitised the artwork. And this was all over a period of around 5 years. And so why sensible footwear? Well, back in the olden days, a woman who might be said to wear sensible shoes could perhaps be one of them, or she might bat for the other team, or play for the other side, or be someone of the Sapphic persuasion. Now in its 2nd edition, the book celebrates these exotic creatures, but it celebrates all LGBTQ+ lives. And what follows next is a short film made last year after the publication of Sensible Footwear by my partner, filmmaker Diane Barry. Thank you again for the nomination, and thank you for watching. The narrative spans 1950 to the present day, and the book's about love and friendship, mothers and daughters, individuals and communities, and it covers everything from the days of illegality and imprisonment through HIV/AIDS, Section 28, and to now to the days of equal marriage. I've not used a literal timeline. I've got collaged history pages which illustrate specific time periods. It's an intersectional book, and it has added lesbians. And it's a moving book, an angry book, and it's a very funny book. There are lots of different time periods and features in the book, and so to represent these, I've used lots of different graphic styles. The 1950s and 60s are predominantly drawn in pencil and wash. In the 70s, a more solid ink and wash takes over. I like to use pastiche, and in the book I've pastiched the Bundy comic, and there's also a lost Gilbert and Sullivan opera called The Girls of Grimsdyke Hall, which is interactive, so if you know any of the tunes, you can sing along to it. Heroes and heroines pop up at various points in the narrative. They're people I admire, people who were and are role models for so many of us. And there are some things that I just really, really like drag. And this is a celebration of how we've arrived at today's astonishing constellation of LGBTQ plus life. This is the Aurora Queerialis. So I'd like to thank everybody who's in the book, Myriad for publishing it, my partner Diane for putting up with it, and Creative Scotland for funding it. Thank you.